Hello everyone, this is Dan, hope you're doing well, and in this episode of Android for Power Users, episode 5, we're going to be covering Titanium Backup, Greenify, and ES File Explorer, so network files, cloud files. So this episode is management, Android for Power Users, episode 5, management. We can also, if we have time, cover OTG, fast charging, how to measure your charging, and yes, so let's get right into it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is take a look at titanium backup. Now, what is titanium backup? Titanium backup is there's it's basically an interface to manage all your applications on Android. Now, Titanium Backup doesn't have any features that don't exist in other apps, but what Titanium Backup does is it integrates it into a great user interface and makes things very usable. So, for example, um, let's go ahead and open it up and take a look. Okay, so here when you open up Titanium Backup, okay, now quick note, Titanium Backup, the free version, it's very limited, and the paid version is $6. There is a way, which I'll cover in what pirates do on Android, to get it for free, because I can't show you an app that you have to pay for, because then it becomes an advertisement. But I'm not saying to pirate the apps, I'm just saying there is a way to do it without paying if you have to. So, now let's move on into the video, now that you know I'm not doing advertisements, and let's go ahead and cover this. Okay, so with Titanium Backup, it has a lot of great features, such as, let's go ahead and take this one. Okay, so you open it up and you can view all your applications. You can back up all your applications in one click. You can back up your system applications. One of the main things I like about Titanium Backup is the ability to easily freeze and unfreeze apps. So freezing is like uninstalling an app, but when you freeze an app, it doesn't actually get uninstalled and it's just saved on your system. It just doesn't show up in your app drawer. So it's really easy to get back. So if one app's giving you a problem and you want to deal with it later, so you can just freeze it, but you don't want to necessarily delete it because it stores all your data. So it's a quick check. So it really helps when you're trying to troubleshoot and find a problem in Android and find out what's going wrong, to be able to just freeze an app that's giving you trouble and then go ahead and move forward. An example of this would be, defaults. So let's say you have an app and you try to open something and it keeps opening a default app that's wrong and won't work. So here you can just freeze that app that's giving you trouble, and then you would get your defaults menu and you can change it to the right app and then unfreeze the other app later because you still have it with all your app data. So there's just a lot of really useful things. Or sometimes you have an app that, well, I'm not sure I'm going to use this and it's always running in background, but I think I might use it later. Well, if you uninstall it, that's a lot of work. But if you just freeze it real quick, well, that's an easy way to just troubleshoot and makes Android management a lot easier. And that's why we're covering Titanium Backup, because it's Android management and it makes management very easy. So let's say we had a problem here, and what kind of problem could we have? Yes, bloatware, good old bloatware. So a lot of what Titanium Backup is used for is to either freeze and uninstall bloatware. And the reason you'd want to freeze bloatware instead of uninstall it, because if you install a system app, like let's say you uninstall your phone app, and you reinstall it, your phone's still not going to work. So what you'd want to do is, if you're not sure about the application, you don't want to uninstall it, but you can freeze it. That way, when it stops working, it doesn't screw up your system because you can always unfreeze it. But if you uninstall a critical system app like the phone app and you reinstall it, your phone's still not going to work. So let's go ahead and go to filters to view our system app. So click to edit, and we're going to just uncheck user and uncheck uninstalled, and so it's only having system checked, and we're going to click yes. And here we will be able to see all of our system apps. So you could go through here and freeze bloatware. So you can see here, when the dark blue, it's frozen. So see, it's frosted. So let's say I want to freeze an app, and freezing is only allowed in the paid version. So here I have Knox. So if I want to freeze Knox, I'd press freeze. If I want to unfreeze it, I'd press defrost. And you can see here that system apps that might be bloatware are frozen. And you might see that this isn't actually a system app here, personal notes. And you would be right, because personal notes is a anti-theft, always have location, so even if your device is factory reset, like the last video where we covered the difference between a ROM recovery and bootloader, and then user data and system files. This, since it's a system app now, even if the device is factory reset, you can still have access to your location. So you can go through here and freeze apps. So I could freeze this app, and when I factory reset my device, it would be unfrozen, so it could be running. I'm not sure about that. I haven't actually tried it, but I think that's what would happen. But yeah, so you can go through here and freeze bloatware. So things I don't use, but that start to run in background, like the help. I've already been through the help menu, so I don't use it. Right, so that's what Titanium Backup is used for. Now, it also has other features, which is backup and sharing your backup. So let's say I have my data here that I want to share with another phone or another user. So what I would do here to make this really easy, I would just go here to swipe over to special features, and then you have all these options. And don't get me, I'm not expert on Titanium Backup. These are just the things I use it for. There's a lot more you can do. Okay, so here I could do send latest backup. Okay, so I want to back it up first. So I'd go over here to backup, backing up personal notes. And here you go, and then you go to special features, and you would go to send latest backup. And what I would do, I always like the easy import, so it's just one click to install on your new device. So here, and then you could go ahead and let's say open up ES File Explorer, which we will also cover in another video, which is the best file explorer. And then I would go back here, I hit back button, so I go to my cloud storage, then I could upload it to my cloud account, and I would put it in my unsorted folder, click select, and now I can access it on any device because it's uploaded to my cloud, and one tap to install with all my user data. So let's say you have an app that has a bunch of user data like a notepad. You could back up the entire app with all of its data, send it to your cloud through ES File Explorer, and then one tap to reinstall it on a new device that also has Titanium Backup installed. So this makes this app very useful, and you can see it has a lot of options here. It also has things like schedule automatic backups and to backup user data, and it also has batch actions. So this one is really useful. You can back up all your apps in one click. So I actually prefer this. It does require root, but I prefer Titanium Backup to Helium Backup because I found it to be much more stable. So you can back up all user apps, back up all system apps, back up both, and you can see it has a lot of options. So the main thing Titanium Backup is used for, though, is deep bloating. So that's just a quick preview of Titanium Backup. Now the next thing we want to look at is greenify. Now what greenify is greenify, a lot of times you'll have apps that run in the background even when they're not being used. So let's take an example here. Let's look at my CPU usage, and let me scroll down a little bit. I have a lot of these frozen, but yeah, okay, so let me go here to yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, okay, yeah, here we go. Yeah, step moving on. So here we have something like Stitch and Share, which takes a screenshot and puts it into one, so you have one big long screenshot. But I'm not actually using this app right now, but it is running and it has its own process ID, and it's taking CPU. Not a lot, but it is taking CPU. So especially when you get bloatware apps, they do start taking a lot of CPU. And you can see I have another one here called Activity Tracker that's also taking CPU when it's not being in use, and I have one like Search Anywhere. Now, why all these are running and taking CPU and I don't have them frozen with Greenify like we do with a lot of other apps that I'll show you in just a minute is apps that need accessibility service. They always have to be running in background if you want to have their accessibility service on. Otherwise, if you disable them, then you have to go back in and turn the accessibility service on again. So it just becomes a huge management pain. So it's just better just to leave them running in background if you need them with your accessibility service. So let's go ahead and go to Greenify and check it out. So we open Greenify. Now Greenify, I only use the free version. So here you can see apps that aren't hibernating, and um, so you can see here we have service and use by accessibility, service and use by accessibility. This is why these ones aren't frozen. Um, but you can see here other apps that would be running normally are frozen, so they aren't running in background. So let's find a good example here. Hopefully they can find like Facebook or something. Let's see here. Yeah, so an app like Dailymotion, I'm not saying Dailymotion in particular, but a lot of times these apps will run in background even when they're not in use. And, or say something like, especially these shopping apps, like DHgate or Geek or Wish, a lot of times they'll run in background even when they don't need to be running. So if you use an app like Greenify, you can go ahead and add them to your freeze list. So Greenify is kind of like where we just showed you frost and defrost so you can freeze an app, but instead of removing it from your app list, it just keeps it so it's not running while it's not in use. But as soon as you click on the app, then it becomes active again and you can use it again. So that's what Greenify is, and you can go through here and add apps to Greenify so you can see what apps are running. So you can see here, these apps are running, and I could greenify these, but let's say if I greenify app backup and restore, because it's always running in background, if I greenify this, then it won't be able to automatically back up an APK whenever I install a new app, which I will also show you in this lecture because it is part of management. So let's go ahead and, sorry, video tutorial, what am I talking about? Okay, in this video tutorial, I will go ahead and show you, yeah, okay. Let me go to my admin folder here. So if whenever you install a new app and you want to automatically back it up and use the APK, so you have the APK in a separate folder, you could use Titanium Backup, but I prefer to use just a simple app called App Backup and Restore, and I'll go ahead and show you all my APKs it backs up. So here it backs up on my APKs, so I'm going to go ahead, I have it set to swipe up does an action to open a shortcut, which opens the folder of where they archive all the APKs. So let me go ahead and here you go. So you can see here that I have 500 APKs here because it backs up every time I install an APK. So this is very useful, and this way, in case you ever uninstall an app but you find out, hey, I want it later, and it's not in the Play Store anymore, you can always have access to your apps again and get them back. And you can see here my file path, so it's in my storage, my micro SD card, then app backup and restore, and archived. And now let's go ahead and open up the app and see what it looks like. So here we open up app backup and restore. I'm using the older version, the new version, new icon. There's just no reason for me to use the new version. So here you can go to backup, and you can just go through the settings here and have it automatically back up all your apps. So that's what I do. I have it in settings where it backs up whenever I get a new install. This is very useful. And okay, so management, we just covered Greenify, we covered Titanium Backup, and we covered, okay, let's go ahead and look at our notes here and see what else we can cover. Let's see, we have Adaway. Okay, yes, Adaway. Adaway is very important. So there's a lot of ads on Android. Now, this one is kind of a, how do you say? Well, it's kind of, I'll just go ahead and start what I'm talking about. So advertisements, you can block them all, or almost all of them on Android, but sometimes there's some developers you want to support. I know I'm supposed to say this, so I know you hear it 1,000 times, but there is some developers I would want to support, like the developer who makes all the Tasker apps. I wouldn't mind seeing ads in his, but the thing is, Android is just insane with ads. I understand why they have to do it, but there is Adaway to take away all the ads. So the main thing is you get these tech blogs and these news sites that just their only goal is just to send you advertising, and it's just so annoying. They completely hate you. You're just a view and a click. So I want to block every ad that they post. So okay, enough of my opinion rant. Now let's get on into what Adaway is. So Adaway is not on the Play Store. It's a way to block all the apps on a lot of ads on Android. What it does is it modifies the host file So what the host file is it has a list of website. Okay. Well, if you already know what a host file is, this is going to sound way too simplified and stupid. But a host file has a list of a bunch of websites that you visited, and has how to access them. So it has their location, so it has their IP address. So what Adaway does is it takes that, it puts all the ad website server names, so their URLs or their web addresses, and then it puts a null IP address there. So every time your device looks to the host file to figure out how to resolve or go to that web address, it goes nowhere and the ad doesn't get loaded. So this is what Adaway does. Adaway does require root because the host file is in your system partition, so it's part of the system of your Android device. So this does require root to do, and it was on the Play Store. Well, no, AdBlock was on the Play Store. There's two versions. One is AdBlock, which doesn't require root. You just set up a quick proxy. That's not on the Play Store. It used to be. And the second one is Adaway, which is again it's not on the Play Store and requires root. And I find this one to be the best one. It just modifies the host file and takes away about 95% of the ads on Android. So let me go ahead and where would I put it? I probably would have put it in my admin folder. Here you are, Adaway. So you just download this, you grant it root permissions, and then you do download files and add ad blocking. And you're now blocking ads on Android. So let's go ahead and check our list to see what else there is to cover. We've done, okay, yes, File Explorer. Oh, yes, we need to do cloud storage. So, the best File Explorer for Android is ES File Explorer. Preferably the older version. This is because the newer version has had a bunch of adware and bloat put in it. So let me go ahead and go to see what version I have here for this to show me. Yeah, okay, so my ES File Explorer version is 3.2.5.53. So I guess if you get any of the 3.0 versions, it's a good version of ES File Explorer. And if you want a safe place to download Android apps that aren't on the Play Store, older versions, you can go ahead and use a app called APK Mirror that someone has made. It's on the it's on XDA developers. Just search APK Mirror web app. Okay, I'm wrong about that. They only allow the 4.0 version of ES File Explorer on APK Mirror. So you're gonna have to go ahead and go search Google for the 3.0 version. Yeah, but this is the best version. You can use the bloated version, but it's just not as clean as the 3.0 version. And I've tried to search about what development team makes ES File Explorer back in 2015, and there was no information. So let me go ahead and let's look at ES File Explorer here. Okay, so ES File Explorer is the best file explorer for Android, and you can see here it has the dark theme. You can do sort by, you can do small icons, large icons, sort by size, view, everything. One of the things that makes ES File Explorer really powerful, though, is that you can access your network files. So here, this is what we're talking about, cloud and network. So here you could access, let's just start with the top, network. Okay, yeah, so here we have my local computer. So we have over Windows LAN SMB. And then here we have FTP, so these are Android phones. So you can access Android phones file structures remotely. And here we have cloud, so you can access your cloud storage files here. And you can go ahead and access all these files, but they'll be in a native file view format. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at my desktop here. So here you can see my hard drives. So you have my C drive here and just other drives. And yeah, so also, if you've ever wondered why the Windows main drive is called the C drive, well, I was reading in my book, and it said that because with Windows DOS, you would have two disk drives. That would be drive A and B, and the first drive would run the DOS operating system, and the second drive B would be your data disk or your program disk. I'm not really sure because I never used DOS. But when they came up with the hard drives, it became drive C. So that's why your main drive in Windows is always drive C, because with DOS they had drive A and B. So just thought that was interesting. Okay, so now we'll go back to our network files here, and we can go ahead and access. Our Google Drives. You can see here, but it's in a format that's just like a file explorer. So you can back up your APKs to Google Drive and then go ahead and access them with ES File Explorer. So here, let's say I wanted to install an app, so I would just click, and then this would start requesting from my Google Drive, and then it'll pop up with the install button. So this is what makes ES File Explorer really useful. Plus you have actions like gestures. So let's say I was in one folder, I wanted to go to another. This little dot in the center here, you can do gestures. So to get to my download folders, I just have a circle, and then I'm in my downloads folder. So these are some of the things that make ES File Explorer the best file explorer for Android. So that's going to be the end of my video on Android Management, Episode 5, Android for Power Users. If you have any questions, go and leave a comment below, and I'll respond. Thanks for watching, and hope this helps.